What's going on, everybody? Tonight I have Greg Smith on with Dusty and myself. Greg Smith has been in the industry 38 years. I won't give him credit for 40 just yet. We'll see if he makes it. But Greg's a wealth of knowledge. He's done it all, seen it all on the hot side for the last 38 years. So glad to have Greg on. What's going on, Greg?
Not much, man.
I'm still trying to recover from that lunch, man. I ate way too much.
Good lunch. Good lunch.
You guys work same office, don't you?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, Greg worked with my dad years ago. That's probably the only reason Greg tolerated me for so long.
I actually worked with him for 2 companies.
Yep. So how'd you get started in all this, Greg?
Back in 1978, I started working at a nursing home on the south side. I worked there for probably 3 or 4 years. Started trying to do refrigeration there at the we just had those units that were built into the wall, so we just pulled them out, and I worked on all the electrical stuff. I just couldn't work on the air conditioning part of it, so we had the company coming in. So I went to night school, went to Tech High School, and there was a guy there from Commercial Parts taking the same class. So I got to talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, we're hiring." So I put an application in and went there, and 2 weeks later I was working at Commercial Parts. So that was 1984. I don't know, it was in the summer, May or so.
I was 2 years old in 1984.
Yeah.
I wasn't born yet. I was 89. 89.
Yeah. My oldest boy was born in 85. So.
Okay.
Yeah, started working at Commercial Parts, and I done some work at the nursing home. I mean, we had a Hobart dish machine we worked on, Hatco booster heater, toasters, little crap. Nothing huge. Nothing big back then because, it was a lot different back then.
Yeah. I love the old Hobarts, man. The school here, I used to take care of their stuff. It's been 12 years since I've done it, but they still had the manual fill valves on the outside of the machine. It had the opening so you could see the water going in. You had to manually fill it in the morning. It was crazy.
Yep. Big handle, and it goes up and around that trap looking thing. And
yep. I mean, and I change the seals on the motors every year. I just put new seals in it, and it'd work fine for a year. And then they come back and let the machine sit all summer, and then come back in the fall, and all the seals would leak. I change all the seals again in the fall. Never had any other problems with it.
The old C44 or 66. Couldn't beat them. Yeah. The old ones.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to have you on here. I mean, you've been doing it for 38 years. I mean, you've seen, the basic GE, hot point stuff years ago that you beat on. Yeah. And then to the crazy stuff that is out there now, the combis, the touch screens, and, all the high-tech stuff. So.
No, I mean, it was nuts back when I first started. I mean, you would actually go out and work on a hot point. I can't remember their model numbers offhand, but I mean, all it was an element. Back then, they didn't even have high limits. So
just let it rock.
I mean, you would have a thermostat that's this big up in the head.
Yeah.
And you'd have a thermostat, an element, and a contactor. That's all it was. So the elements never blew, so it was either a contactor or a thermostat. It was almost always a thermostat. So
what was that on? Was that just universally, or was that on? You talking about a specific piece of equipment?
Back then, man, there was no safeties. I mean, we're talking early 80s. There was no safeties.
Yeah.
I mean, you had common sense people back then.
Yeah, so that's true.
Didn't need it. I mean,
we need safeties now.
Guess what? A cut on fire was your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one of those? Is that like if it's smoking, just turn it off? Like,
yeah. I mean, it'd be rolling. I went in one school one time, and it was overheating, so I turned it on. I went out to the truck to get my meter, came back in, and it was just rolling. I mean, smoke. poofing and everything else. I put my meter in there, was 540 something degrees.
Jeez.
I'm just rolling.
It's not how Jim caught that fryer on fire at Purdue. It started bubbling. He didn't know how hot it was, so he went out to his truck to get his meter. And by the time he came back in, it was on fire.
That's
I
something
just
to
set
come
it off
into.
and just kind of make sure it wasn't going to catch on fire. I mean, I had a fire extinguisher handy, and it's like, man, I don't know why it didn't catch on fire. Because they're supposed to ignite at 525 or so. It's probably old oil. But yeah, the fryers, and then I mean, the ovens were the same way. I mean, it was easy troubleshooting. But back then, it was still kind of hard. But I mean, there was just no limits on anything. No air switches, no nothing. I mean, on-off switch, contactor, thermostat, motor. That was your convection oven. I mean, no timers, no nothing. I mean, you had those little Bell egg timers. So when stuff started changing, it was a big deal. I mean, probes come into play and computers, and it was just a big learning curve.
I would imagine so, just because was that like a gradual thing, or was that kind of?
Yeah. The latest I can remember was probably, I wanted to say it was KFC, but they came out with those fast computers, those square ones, they put on the fryers.
Yeah.
I think they even had them on like the Blodgett ovens. That's kind of the first ones I remember.
I gotcha.
So you always had to go too fast to see what was going on, and because it wasn't part of the oven, it was actually part of fast. So for the programming and everything else.
That's kind of wild to see. Like I don't know if Pat told you or not. I've been doing the HVAC for 7 years, but I've only been in kitchens doing kitchen equipment for about a little over a year. So what's in there now is all kind of newish to me. I mean, I would still work on older stuff, but I mean, seeing some of the stuff we work on now and thinking, how crazy that change would have been to what they used to be to what they are now. And I mean, it's just like a constant learning curve. Not only are you learning to work on the equipment in general, but you're learning changes in the equipment. So,
yeah, I mean, the changes I've seen 15, 16 years is crazy. I couldn't imagine 30 years. I mean, when I first started, I seen some of the older stuff. Occasionally you'd work on an old oven at a school or something, and I still have some schools that still have the old GE stuff there. They don't use it. It's pretty much a table at this point, but I mean, they say it all still works, but it's crazy. But when I first started, I mean, fryers, say Frymaster. I mean, they had a little controller, but it was just simple, basic thing. It didn't do what it does now. And now you can walk up to a fryer and you touch the screen. You can test out each individual function. You can, I mean, it can tell you error codes. It'll tell you what the error code does. I mean, it's crazy what it's came to.
Those new Frymasters, those boards on the front are crazy. It makes it almost a different piece of equipment.
Yeah,
it actually makes it easier, but you just have to know what to hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it makes it be able to find it. I mean, that's all you got to do.
The troubleshooting makes it easier, but when there's 7 boards for a bank of 2 fryers and you're trying to track stuff down, and you have 120 volts, you have 24 volt AC system, you have a 12 volt DC, a 5 volt DC, then you have a communication system. You're like, where's the problem? Sometimes you'll have one board, and if it goes bad, it'll actually send line voltage back through all the low voltage stuff and just fry it all. It's like, this is crazy.
Had a few of those, didn't we?
Yeah. That stupid SUI board, man. That little Wi-Fi board. If it stuck a fry, it took everything out.
What's that on? Is that on a Frymaster?
Yeah, Frymaster touchscreens. They have it's called a SUI board. They can either be Wi-Fi or you can plug in a dongle and it'll actually emits a cell phone signal. You can communicate to the internet. It can be kind of a little different beast.
Can you control that remotely or?
No, you can pay, the customer can pay a service and they can get on remotely and see it, but it was just more of like a test thing Frymaster had where they were testing certain fryers in certain places and it was causing issues.
One I did in Bedford, they actually had a MiFi.
Yeah, that was behind a computer, wasn't it?
They mounted it up underneath the fried dump station. So you can imagine.
That's a good spot.
You can imagine
what it was.
I put 3 or 4 in there. I don't know how many boards in it. It was nuts.
Yeah, I had to do that one down in Louisville at the Chick-fil-A food truck. I don't know if you ever seen that down there, Dusty. There's actual a guy that has a couple stores in Louisville. I think he has some store in one of the malls, but he has like a catering kitchen, and he has a food truck, a Chick-fil-A food truck, and they load this thing up every day, and they go to a different spot, like a place that doesn't have a Chick-fil-A. They'll go to like a hospital or someplace like that, set up out there, and they'll sell like 10 grand of chicken a day. They don't.
Jeez.
Everything's fried, so they don't do grilled stuff. It's the craziest thing. It's the nicest food truck I've ever seen. But they had Frymaster gas fryers for doing their waffle fries. But on their Henny Pennies, they're propane. But it was crazy. Like they were changing a pump on one. They had an in-house maintenance guy doing it. The outside of the food truck opened up, and you could just reach right in there and get to that filter pump and pull it right out because it was like raised up off the ground. It was the sweetest thing I've ever seen.
Wow, that's a game changer.
I was like, because I seen this thing, I was like, oh my god, if you got to change one of those pumps, I was like, how are you going to do it? I think I was like, oh, I got to change one. Watch this, and he pulled it up and he had it out in no time. I was like, dude, that's awesome because you're not laying on the ground; it's right there, like chest high,
And that's the worst part about the pumps is just you got to lay on the ground, acrobatic. You got to use 2 fingers, this way and one arm this way. It makes it such a pain just logistically and those things because essentially the whole part of changing it's not too crazy, but getting to it's usually the pain. I changed one on a couple of weeks ago on a new Pitco. It was like 3 months old, which actually wasn't that bad because I didn't have to chip away and chisel at grease, so I made it a little easier.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, Greg's been doing a long time, and getting down off the floor it kills you. I mean, you got to take care of yourself. Make sure you have knee pads or you have something to kneel on. Or I mean, I'll sit on my ass, sit cross-legged, but I don't know. I
just got knee pads, just strap-on knee pads, because I used to carry one of those mats, and I would always use it. And then when I would move down, I wouldn't move it with me, and then I was tired of coming home, my knees hurting. So then I got like just knee pads. So before I go in, I just strap on knee pads, and I don't even think about it.
If I knew 30 years ago, I don't care how dumb it looks, I would have put knee pads on 30 years ago.
I mean, I feel like I look like an idiot, but my knees don't hurt.
The way I feel now, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
These are just absolutely shot.
They'll do it to you. I mean, especially all the floors we work on, just hard grouts, hard kitchen floors. I mean, it's
grout kills you.
Yep.
In between the grout with your knee.
Yeah, I can handle the flat surfaces, but that grout line gets you because that edge.
Scoot over a little bit and just pops your knee, and it's. But one of the other major changes has been vehicles.
Yeah.
And when I first started, I had a 1980 Ford Courier pickup truck.
Nice.
Had a camper handmade back end on it that was cut out of sheet metal. I'm not exaggerating. And I just had a camper shell on it with some shelves, homemade shelves in it. And that's what I worked out of for I don't know how many years I had that. And it was a 4-speed, and had a 1600, I think, cc motor in it. It was actually a Nissan. Then I'm 6'2", 290 pounds. I'm in this Courier
Nissan pickup truck
with a 4-speed, trying to do the clutch. And back then, we had 2-way radios. And
to communicate?
This radio was this thick. Sits behind the seat.
So shoved your seat up.
Dude, it was horrible. I don't know how many wrecks I got, just barely missed because they just couldn't get out of the way.
Dude, those radios, I've heard stories about guys saying shit over those radios, getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Horror stories on those radios, man.
I had a couple channels on it, but I mean, after every call, you'd call in and say, I'm here at wherever, and I'm going to here. So, and that's how they figured out where he was at. Or they needed something. I said, your number, and hey, you got to go here.
So you would just communicate with the office on a two-way radio?
Yep,
Nice.
sure
That's
did.
another thing too. We don't even think about like just being in the whole time I've been in trade school. We've had cell phones and internet and all that stuff. So if you took that out of the equation, I mean that in and of itself's a huge game changer.
Probably the biggest thing, no GPS. Not 1980.
Yeah, that's true. You got a map. You probably have one of those almanac.
Oh yeah,
map
you
books.
pull out maps. I'd have all kinds of them in the door, laying over here, different cities. I mean, we went everywhere, just like we do now.
Which I think is
So-
important because when I first started driving, I mean, it was like we had MapQuest, but I would always buy a map and then just like use the map to like route wherever I was going or whatever I was doing. And it's, I mean, you don't ever use it, but it's, you know, one of those things it
I
was
still got
almost
them in the
essential.
door.
Yeah. Sometimes you might need it, man.
So
So-
you would get a call, and you would have to go to a school.
Mhm.
I would get to the town, and I would pull up, and I'd go to a service station. Said, "Hey, where's this school at?"
Yeah.
Well, it's down here. You make a right, you make a left, and that's how you found it.
Yeah.
Nice. So
That was a big
EC2
change.
Fix said that Pitco Solstice fryers came out in the early 2000s claiming they were designed for technicians to work on. That was true to some extent. I mean, I don't mind working on them. Sometimes the filter pumps can be a little pain, but I like the pin style, you know, pull it pin and drop the filter pump out. Once you get it figured out where you can get it out fairly easy, it's not too bad to do. Some of the other things on those Pitcos can be a bear, but I mean, I don't have a whole lot of problems with them besides those.
Biggest thing was the flex line.
Yeah, the flex line. If it doesn't spin free and you just twist it up, kink it up, you're done.
Yep.
You talking about those oil flex lines?
Yeah.
Yeah, the great big stainless steel ones.
Yeah. I've had some of those just leak. Just, you know, you show
Oh,
up
yeah.
and leak or if you go to like hit it to spin it, it's like it was cracked, but it was just seated enough not
Yep.
to seep out. So when you hit it on, you know, I usually try to get, you know, I keep a couple of my truck just spare because I mean, when those things break, you're freaking screwed.
Yeah, they can be something else.
I feel like is it Pitco or it may be a different brand that has the filter pump on that actually mounted on the back of the fryers?
Oh,
heard
exterior?
Yeah, like an exterior mount. filter
Who
pump.
was that? I've only seen a couple of them where it's on the outside of the fryer. The pump's on the back on the outside.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got
I've done
flex
a
lines
couple
on
of henny pennies that were really easy.
it. Yeah.
I've done a couple that was really hard.
Surprising to
McDonald's.
hear anything being easy on a henny penny. Is all I could say.
It had 2 unions on it, man. You undid the 2 unions. It was right there. You pulled it out, put the new one in it, put the unions back in it, wired it back up. It was done.
Anybody
And I had another one that took me like 8 hours. So
Yeah, that's the thing with those. Like, what do you typically bid on a filter pump? It's one of those things where it could be a couple hours, could be 6 hours. You know, you just kind of never know.
I think I can do it in this. Add 2 hours for just in case.
Okay, I gotcha.
That's my general rule. And when I quote anything, you know, if like, oh, it's gonna take me 4 hours, but I'm gonna go ahead and quote 6 just in case I run into issues.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, the GPS deal. That's a game changer, man. When I first started, I just like you on the phone. It wasn't very good, but I still had to rely on maps. But I mean, now I'm spoiled. I mean, our app on our phone we use for dispatching, you literally hit 2 buttons and it brings up GPS and tells you right to where to go. I mean, it's not always 100% right, but it gets you pretty close most of the time.
You guys use we get like an email and then it'll have the address just like I guess illuminated. And you click it and it'll open up like your Apple Maps, and then we just go that way. So
No, our program we use, like, it has an option where you hit a button and it says map my route, and you just click that and go.
Oh, nice.
Right, most of the time.
Yeah.
It gets you close. That's why I said it gets you close.
I've been in some cornfields before, and that's not the restaurant. So
I think that's an Apple thing because my wife, she has an iPhone and she tried using GPS one day. It literally took her a cornfield and told her to walk the rest of the way.
Get out and travel
So,
on foot.
Yeah, get out and walk to your destination. Well, that's like, I'm 20 miles away, you know?
Not doing that. I think Apple Map, that's what I use, but I have had a few issues with that. Like you'll drive to. I mean, I think I was going to a Hardee's, and it took me to a Kroger parking lot. It was like, you've arrived. Like, not at all, man. But I mean, it was just like I think about 3 miles away though. So then eventually you can kind of see it with signs, but it's not too often. It's usually pretty reliable.
So when you first started, there was no combi ovens. It was steamers,
Yes,
convection
yeah, there
ovens.
was. There was.
There was?
We had Blodgett, which was using Rationale's ovens, but they were putting Blodgett names on them.
Okay.
They were COS 10s or something like that. They were at Old Country Buffet.
Really?
All of them had them.
I didn't
They were
realize.
stacked. They were stacked just like they are now.
That's crazy.
Pretty close to the way the Rationale started out. And after 5 years, I don't know if it was I don't know what it was, trademark or the patent or something ran out. So then Blodgett could make their own. And that's when they started making their own combi. But yeah, we're calling them launch.
I didn't realize they've been out that long. I know, they've been around, but I didn't know, they were in our area that long. So that's cool to know.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing beats an old Market Forge boiler base steamer having 480 volts pulling like 100 amps. And
you
probably haven't ran across any of those, have you, Dusty?
I have not yet. I think you've talked about them before. And
it's scary, dude. You see when it's like 480 volts and it's got this big contactor box. You pull the cover off and there's just elements there, and it's just like number 2 wires from the contactor straight to the elements. It's like, holy shit.
What are those in? Are those like in schools?
Schools, man. Old schools have
That's
them.
all the schools used to use. I mean, that's all they had. That and a skillet.
It was a pressurized system, so it'd build like 15 psi of steam. It had air vents in there that let the air out while it steamed and heated up. And I mean, it had the big submarine doors where they latched and you had to turn the handle and get seal the door off.
I think I've seen some stuff like that, but I've never worked on any of those.
Taylor still has one. I showed Corbin the other day. Says, "Give me any idea what this is?" And he says, "No." So yeah, you don't see very many of these anymore. It was a big Vulcan.
So down there at the Marriott East, 25th and Shadeland, they had that big Market Forge down there, and someone went down there and said it needed a high limit, so I put a new high limit in it and turned it on, and it dry fired, and it blew up, and it took out half the hotel. It literally lights shut off, and I could hear the fans and the hood slowing down. I looked around, and all the emergency lights came on. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Did you do it before or after I did it?
I think I
did the same thing down there.
Yeah, dude. It made this guy's like those fuses were like $700 a piece or something. I think he said they were huge fuses.
Because I blew 2 of them.
Dude, I was freaking out when the lights go off and you can hear the fan slow down. You know you're getting in trouble.
Yeah. I threw stuff in my truck and left.
I did too. I didn't have power, so
I can't do anything else. I'm done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So EC2 fix and grown combis were very prolific in the 2000s. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a grown combi. I've seen grown boilers, but I think it did have a dry heat element and a boiler element or a water element too. So yeah, Market Forge, man, you can't get parts for them anymore. You can't do nothing. But I did see a brand new Market Forge boiler based unit at Zionsville High School, and some guy from Vanco was there, and he was there like 3 hours, and I seen him for 15 minutes. We had the thing tore apart, and I don't know where he was at the rest of the time.
Well, Crown took over South Bend, I think, all their boilers. Crown's the only one I know that still makes the boiler base.
Yeah, because I installed one at Tipton. It's hooked up to those two old kettles there at the middle school. They refused to get a combi oven. They said they want their kettles, so he bought them a boiler base, and two cabinet steamer top, and I tied it all in. Should have descaled it this week, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You guys swamped this week, or is it?
We're pretty busy, but I mean, it's been worse.
Yeah.
It's starting to slow down. We're getting some extra guys in, so we'll see what happens. We got to get some of the guys trained up and see where that goes. So,
I guess we got some stuff like some loose ends that need to be tied up and stuff for the end of the year, and I finally got some parts in on a couple pieces of equipment I've been waiting on. So, but man, I did like that 4-day weekend.
yeah, we ended up not working Friday because of the weather, luckily. So
that's what I was wondering, man. It got pretty bad here. I didn't think it was going to get that bad, and I was doubting it. But
well, that's what I told us in our meeting or lunch today. I said 5 years ago we would have worked Friday.
Oh, definitely.
But now with the safety push and everything, they won't risk it.
No.
I know our competition worked Monday. I was like, okay. They didn't have an actual holiday. They gave them a floating holiday and told them they could work Monday. So
I wonder if they got double time or.
No, I think they just got regular time. I wasn't having it.
No, that's a holiday for me.
So talking about parts,
we had was when we were on call back then. It was we had a beeper. So a beeper would come on that would shoot up a phone number. Mm-hmm. So they gave us this great big gigantic mobile phone. I mean, this is mid-'80s. This is all we had was that great big bag phone.
Yeah.
And they gave us that. If we didn't have that, then we would just have to go find a telephone booth somewhere. Dusty probably don't know what that is, but
I've seen them.
I mean, you would have to go up there, get a quarter, throw a quarter in it, and call them.
Yeah, that's what I used to work with a guy who'd been doing HVAC for a while, and he used to say the same thing. He would have like a beeper pager, and you would get the page with the number, and then they would give you like you make sure every day you had like a couple of rolls of quarters, so you could go and use the closest pay phone, and then give them a call, and it was just done that way. Just the only way to do it.
I'm glad I never experienced that. Cell phones were. Well, it wasn't cell phone. Well, it was a Nextel is what I had. So you could chirp, or you could make phone calls.
I missed the chirp. On. I like the chirp feature. It's like a walkie-talkie, wasn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like you could chirp and then.
Oh yeah, we had those for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, even at the job, you would need a part. So you would have to go into the office, call them up on the phone. Hey, I need this part.
What was I guess that's like a thing like with parts, like who'd you order parts from? Just Heritage, or I don't even know how long Heritage was around.
For the manufacturer.
Oh really?
Commercial parts is pretty big, man. I mean, I don't even know if Heritage was even around back then.
No.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, so you think, you hate scrolling through pages and pages of part breakdown on your phone, looking for a part. Imagine have to go into the shop and get a physical book.
Yeah. And flip through the service manual.
And then the part was changed. People would scribble out the part number and they'd write in the new part number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
we would do, we would go out and run the calls, and then we would write down what we needed. Then we would go back into the shop, and then we would have to get this book, go into this bookcase. It was a big old wall of bookcase. Pull out the manual. Yeah, there it is. And order it that way.
Nice.
And when they dispatched us to calls, I mean, well, they didn't really dispatch us. They would just hand us a handful of 5, 10, 15 invoices and say, go run them. Run them however you wanted to run them. I don't care how you do it, just get them done.
I couldn't imagine having that kind of freedom to do it how I wanted. I mean, I'd love it to be able to pick and choose, the order I run stuff.
Oh, I brought it up several times. Oh, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. I guarantee I get more work done. I guarantee it.
I don't know how many times I've been sent to McDonald's during lunchtime. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm telling you to go. All right.
They said it would be okay.
And then they're yelling at me. The manager's yelling at us. Why'd you go there? I was told to go there. She said it was fine. She's told me to just do my job. I think everybody in the office needs to, ride along with someone when they go to McDonald's during lunchtime trying to work on something.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a cooler that I'm like, yeah, it's a cooler that hangs on the wall in the drive-through window. Yeah, that's not happening.
That's a thing too, like trying to, I guess, determine when you can and can't work on stuff. I mean, some places you can't. I guess it depends on the rush and their volume. But McDonald's, you kind of have it a little different because they open at what, like 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's
10:30 to 1:30. Might as well forget it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've been there. I've been there. It's not fun.
I've done fries at 12 o'clock at lunchtime. Just trying to get them through lunch so I can continue working on it.
Yeah, I've cooked fries. I've cooked burgers. I mean, if I'm working on the grill and you're there working on it, that timer's going off, that burger's up. I can't stand the timer, so I'll pull them off myself.
Yeah. I do the same thing, or if the shake timer goes off, I'll shake it, reset it.
I'm like, I cut my teeth in McDonald's, and I hate the sounds of McDonald's. It drives me nuts. And every time I go in there, all these timers are going off. People are just walking around like it's no big deal. I'm like,
drives me crazy.
The one that kills me is that one at Taco Bell. Over the top of the rethermalizer.
Oh, yeah.
Shut that thing off.
I just hit the button. It's
loud. It's right by your ear.
Go about my business. Michael Lingenfelder said he had a pager when he started. He feels old. He remembers paper manuals.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have the paper manuals. I had the SBS guys, so I'd chirp in and give them a model, serial number, part number, and they'd look that stuff up for me. And then by the time I left there, everything was on the internet. I mean, for the most part. So I've been kind of lucky that way. I couldn't imagine I have to scroll through a book. I'm like, oh, I just scrolled through 200 pages. This is the wrong book. Grab another one.
Yeah, especially now with like iPhones, you can just search to text. Kind of get you in the right vicinity. But I mean, sometimes I like a paper manual. I like a paper book. For like parts, like you see it break down a little bit better. But I guess if you put it on your iPad, it's just the same. But
it's pretty much what I do. Turbo Chef. I got all them books. I look up parts on the Turbo Chef. Mary Chef. I got manuals on all that.
Yeah, I mean, just like that. I mean, when did the speed ovens come around? The microwave speed ovens. I mean, the microwave's been around for years, but the actual the speed ovens that Subway used, was that like when they first got popular? Was Subway or?
Oh yeah, that came later. When we were working on them, they were actually called radar ranges. Amana, radar range.
That's pretty much what it is. People don't know.
And then those great big ones came along that they put in schools. The great big 2 everything, 150-pound microwave.
Jeez.
McDonald's and their queuing ovens.
Yeah, queuing oven. They can't call it a microwave. They call it a queuing oven.
I remember when I first microwave, dude, and they lost it. They lost their mind. That's not a microwave. I'm like, well, it's actually a really big microwave. They put it up on that shelf. Put it up on that shelf, 8 feet up in the air, and like this thing weighs like 200 pounds. How am I gonna get it off there?
What is it? What do they put in it?
They wouldn't let them call on a microwave.
Were they cooking them? They cooked their burritos in them. They cooked their hot cakes in them. Cinnamelts.
Okay, they do so it's pretty much a microwave. But
it's just a big no. That's all it is. A microwave. It's not even a speed oven. So like Subway doesn't consider speed ovens because it's an oven with a microwave feature. But at McDonald's, it's a straight microwave. They just call it a queuing oven. But they run their biscuits in there before they bake them to thaw them out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they throw a lot of stuff in there now. They're not like Burger King. Burger King will actually make your sandwich, throw it in the microwave, and then serve it to you. McDonald's doesn't do that, but I don't even know. Does Burger King still do that?
I don't think so.
They used to do it all the time. It was crazy.
But that McDonald's microwave was 2,200 watts.
Jeez.
Yeah,
The queuing
thing
oven.
I think it was gnarly. I never worked on them. I got lucky and just took them to the shop, had someone else work on them. But
Dairy
transporting
Queen
was
had
no
'em.
fun.
Dairy Queen had them. McDonald's had them. Then all the big Panasonics at the schools were 2,200, 2,700 watts at school.
The schools still have those big giant Panasonics too.
Oh yeah. I don't think it
I always
parts
like-
from it.
I'm like, can I use your microwave? They're like, well, if you put it in your microwave at home for this long, you want to do it for this long here. I was like, okay.
Yeah, 5 seconds.
Nice. So has technology helped help this industry, helped your job, or just kind of it's here and you just deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, naturally I had to learn it. I mean, I wasn't used to doing all that stuff. I mean, yeah, it's easier. I can look it up real quick on the on my phone, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, right there it is.
When the phone works.
Yeah, it's been better. It's been a lot better. Still has its times.
I guess what's something that's changed that you wish wouldn't have changed? You know what I mean? As far as like, what did you say?
The phone's either good or it's bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Greg has the worst luck with phones.
I don't get it, man. I got a brand new phone, it won't work. What's the deal?
Apple stuff, man, made to break.
It's you. No, it ain't me, because nobody else can figure it out either.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hit or miss. I mean, Jason says he's carried manuals with him for years. Then he would call in the office if I wasn't with him. I could cook burgers, the best of them.
Yeah.
When they found out I could run the grill along with could work on it, they didn't care if I showed up at noon. Yeah, you learn, man. I'm fascinated by chefs, and I'm fascinated how stuff's made. So, like, I'll go into a high-end restaurant, and, when they serve a plate, it just looks amazing, and I'll watch the guy do it. And they're like, are you hungry? I'm like, no, I just think it's cool how you do that,
But yes, I am hungry.
Yeah, Greg's always hungry.
I weighed about 150 pounds when I started.
About where I'm at. I'm trying, man. I'm getting free chicken tenders every day. So.
Oh, he taught Corbin that trick.
Oh yeah, he still won't do it. He won't do it.
He took grilled chicken today, so we did start up on a garland clam grill at Chick-fil-A, and they brought over spicy grilled chicken and regular for us to cook. Dude, that spicy grilled chicken has some kick to it, dude.
It's awesome.
He actually ate that before we came to the shop and ate. So he's getting better about it. But I told him, I was like, man, like you said, I weighed like 225. And it's like everywhere you go, cafeterias, I mean, it don't matter.
You couldn't walk out of a school without eating.
No, lunch ladies, they take care of you, man. If you
They
take
get mad
care
at
of a
you
lunch
and
lady,
anything else we didn't eat. I mean,
yep.
And now you can't even get a drink of water.
No.
I don't know why you have a problem. I get taken care of everywhere I go.
No, hardly ever.
Really? I usually get offered. Sometimes I take it, sometimes I don't. I got offered some chicken wings today from a casino. So
Nice.
I had to do a Raising Cane call a couple weeks ago. Well, it was 2 weeks ago, Saturday, on a cooler. So their breading station, they has a manual drain in it, I guess. It's when they clean it. There's like a hose up to it or a tube. And they didn't do it, and they were just dumping the water down into the condensing unit, and it just shortened it out, tripping the GFI nonstop. I don't know. I mean, they're putting them in up here. We've got a couple more getting ready to open. So,
yeah, they got. I mean, I think in our area we do like 14 of them, and they're adding more to like the southern area. I mean, the good thing about them is they're clean, they're efficient, they don't balk at like repairs really, and every store is pretty much the same.
Apparently, they don't care about their warranty either because they just let you guys come in there and fix everything.
Hey, man, it is what
I'm not
it is.
knocking you guys. I'm just saying they don't care if it's paid by warranty or not. They're gonna have it fixed.
Well, it was just, I think we had so many stuff, and I was doing the calls and just putting it in and saying, this is warranty, this is warranty, this is warranty. But there was just kind of a lag, and one of them reached out to us and said, "How quick could you have it? Tomorrow." And then we started doing that. And I think like for some stuff they might still go warranty, but that's like that filter pump, man. That was a warranty prior, but it was like we got them going the next. It was like 2 days later, so it's kind of one of those things where I don't mind it, and they're paying it, so.
Yeah, I completely agree with the GFCIs in blowing the kitchen.
Yeah.
This way, it's getting even worse. So now the 3-phase breakers have to be GSI protected. They're on like grills and stuff, and it's been nothing but a headache. Get that grill wet, it trips that GFI breaker, and it's nothing but a headache. So it's only going to keep getting worse.
Because they won't use the good ones; they use the cheap ones, and they trip at nothing.
Well, and the grills all have high temp wire in them, and they get them wet, and that high temp wire does nothing against water intrusion. It gets wet, it's done. And I mean, I've literally had to go pull the tops off of grills, unhook the ground wire, and turn it back on, and just let it cook the water out of the units. And it's crazy. Let it run for like an hour and a half. When it stops steaming, put it all back together, put the ground back up, and don't dump water on it. See you later.
I don't know how many warmers I went out to work on, brand new ones, and it's tripping the GFI.
Yep.
You get out there and it's like, man, the insulation's soaked. It's condensation. It's cold out. Now it's in a warm restaurant. It's condensation in the element.
Yeah, that's what happens to Chick-fil-A all the time on those grills, dude. This one I got lucky today because it must have been inside or it's got different insulation in it, but dude, literally every single one, it'd run for like 2 minutes, GFI trip. You wake up minutes, reset it, run for a couple more minutes, GFI trip. I mean, it was like it turned a 2.5 hour job into like a 4 or 5 hour process just because you couldn't keep it running. But once it dried out, it was fine. Just them sitting in a container or wherever in the cold, bring them in the store and turn them on. They just full of condensation.
So yeah, go get an extension cord and hook it up to a regular outlet. It's like, well, where am I going to find one of them at?
Yeah.
I only have a 25-foot cord, so.
I'm surprised they didn't start up those warmers. There was a small warmer, and actually there was 2 small warmers in there, like the 2x4 on a cart, and then they had a 2x2 up on the wall. I didn't have nothing to start any of those up, so I'm sure you'll have to go back out there and do those.
What was it?
Is that Marion University in the alumni building?
What kind of warmer?
Merco's.
Oh, yeah.
Normally I get them all when I do a Chick-fil-A. Stupid cord. I'm over this cord. So, all right. So when did things kind of get so crazy like they are now? I mean, when I first started, I had some Henny Penny ovens that were really rebadged rationales. I didn't know it. Combi ovens at some of the grocery stores. You pull a side off, and it was nothing but relays. I had a couple nursing homes when I first started that had old rationales with just a ton of relays in there. But, I mean, like I said, just in the short amount of time I've been doing it, stuff got crazy. I mean, I couldn't imagine just looking back over the years.
I mean, it's just so different how parts and everything look, too. I mean, the stuff we used to work on had, it was great big old boards and I mean the capacitors were like this, and now you can't hardly see them. And so I mean that's all changed. The motors are way better, way different.
I remember like working on old ovens, like 2 or 3 different brands all use the same thermostat.
Oh yeah,
you could use the same thermostat. It may be a different part number from the manufacturer. But once you got that thermostat, you could look at the manufacturer thermostat, and it has the same part number. Like it's the same thermostat for 3 different ovens. I'm like, this is crazy.
That's back to your question, Dusty. We didn't really have a parts town. We would just order straight from Robert Shaw. Our U-line.
Straight from the manufacturer.
Those were it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just look at the side of the thermostat. It's like, oh yeah, that's a K36 Stat 1. Okay.
You just contact Robert Shaw's. Yeah.
Just go to Robert Shaw and say, I need this. I mean, I don't need it for a Cleveland or a Groen or it doesn't matter. It's a K36.1 thermostat.
Yeah. I try to do that now with parts too. Just look at the actual part number on the part and then look at it that way. I mean, because you can go through like the manufacturer process, but sometimes it adds so much time to it when you can just
Most
go
of the
straight to the
rationale
source.
stuff will have the part number on it.
Mm-hmm. It
Most of
won't,
it.
you say?
They will. They'll be on there somewhere.
Okay.
You have to look for it. They're usually a tag somewhere.
Mm. What was lead time for parts?
It wasn't 1 or 2 days. It would usually be a week or so.
Oh, okay.
No overnight shipping back then.
See, we're spoiled with that. That like 1 to 2 day shipping.
I think there was, but it was later. That's another thing. Back when I started, we were up on the north side, 46th Street. It was basically an old, I don't know if it was a house or not, but you would walk in and then there's the shop. Up front was where they had parts. Then they had a few offices, and then you would have to go downstairs for the parts. So it actually had a downstairs basement in an old building. Oh yeah, that's back when Gary's dad owned Homer.
That's crazy. I couldn't imagine that. I mean, I've been spoiled. I've worked for pretty decent sized companies my entire career. I've worked for some smaller shops, but we still had, a decent warehouse. It wasn't like in an old house. So
They'd get a parts delivery and have to put something over the stairs and throw the boxes down.
they had a slide on the stairs with the parts down.
Oh yeah, just like McDonald's used to have. All the McDonald's used to have a basement.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's where everything was at. All the breakers.
Yeah, I remember that because there were some stores in Muncie when I first started in Anderson that had the basement, and you go down there, shut the breakers off, or shut the water off to like the bun steamer or something, and they'd have that slide. It'd be stuck over against the wall. When they get a truck, they let it down, and someone's downstairs just catching boxes, and they're just shoving them down there.
Yep.
That's nuts. So, you're getting towards the end of your career. That's another thing people don't talk about is what do they do with the guys that are aging out? I mean, there's guys that are a wealth of information and knowledge, but they can't physically get up and down off the floor anymore. I mean, I know a lot of it's probably like a cost thing. You can't continue to pay the guys that money if they're not actually in the field. Yeah. But there's certain things we can do as an industry to utilize these guys for their knowledge. I don't know. It's just I've had a lot of people ask me about that, and I always think about you, and it's just because you're I know you. I don't know a whole lot of the guys older than me outside of general parts. So, but I mean, it's a weird situation.
It's right now. I mean, basically, I got on the floor today, and it was nuts. I had to get up and down 3 times, and it was rough.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't have anybody with you today.
Yeah, it was both ovens. I thought it was going to be something simple, but ended up being a leak and transformer out and all kinds of good stuff after that. So I don't know. Like when I go with Corbin or anybody else, I try to. I don't know how much of this he's getting, but I just try to feed him with a whole bunch of information. And the biggest thing is try to be safe and don't do this, don't do that. But
yeah, he told me about his one hand in a pocket trick. You told him.
Oh yeah.
I was like, why, don't you? He's like, yeah. I said, okay. I said, if you're going to get it, you want to stay in one arm. You don't want it to go, all the way through your chest, not the other side. I said,
that's how you get killed with it going through your heart.
Yeah.
I kept trying to show him. I said, man, if you're like this, it's going to go right here, go through here, and then out the other hand. It's got to have a way in and a way out. If it's in your pocket, then that's all farther it's going to go.
Yeah. LED handyman says he sits on a bucket unless more is required. Man, I used to sit on milk crates,
Oh yeah,
whatever I can. I mean,
milk crates are too far down.
yeah, the bucket does a pretty good job.
Bucket's not bad.
So do you think that we should be utilizing guys like you for like a tech support role then, or?
I've talked to Ed about that a bunch of times, and he just keeps saying, let me know when you're getting ready to go. It's like, well, 3 years now I've been telling you, so I don't know what
I
else to
mean,
tell you.
Parstown was looking for tech support guys. You could work remote from anywhere.
I
They
mean,
had an ad, so
I've hinted around at Cleveland. I've hinted around at Frymaster. I've hinted around at Rationale. So it's like, I wouldn't mind doing stuff like that.
yeah, I'll have to look again and see because I've seen that ad somewhere, but they were looking for like, guys just to answer their phone for like tech support for. I mean, I think it's mainly for people who couldn't identify parts or what they were working on. You probably had to deal with that kind of stuff, but I mean, I don't know if that's a viable option. I mean, we just got. I mean, there's so many new guys. I mean, you see it at our office. I mean, there's 4 of us that have been there for 10 plus years, and then everyone else was 4 months and under. And there was 5 of them in there. And one guy was there for 2 days. This was the second day. What's the day? And he's the only one that has. Well, him and Pat have experience in this. He's got a little bit, but not a whole lot. But we got 3 guys that have 0 experience, 0 relatable experience at that. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know anything about that Jake. I met John. He seems okay. I don't know about Jake yet.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get it figured out. I mean, just like anything else, it takes time. I mean, you're gonna know if you want to do it or if you don't want to do
it. Yeah, it's like back when I first started. I mean, I had no idea what 3-phase was. Found out real quick what 3-phase was, but I completely blew up a grill at U of I. Used to be in Indiana Central. I put the 2 wires together. It was a direct short on a thermostat. It's like, well, you can't wire it that way.
Found out why not.
Dude, I've done some dumb stuff when I first started, man. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I didn't know what I was doing, man. I got 2 weeks and kicked out the truck, figured it out.
Yeah. That was a little bit longer than that. I think they probably had me riding around for, I don't know, 4 to 6 months. Somewhere 4 months probably.
Damn.
Yeah, I rode around with Doc for a good while. I rode around with George. I rode around with the Terre Haute guy for a while.
They're sending you to Terre Haute every day?
Oh, yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, I'd run all the way out there, then jump in his van and drive around. Come back home.
Yeah, always learn from your mistakes, Jay. Yeah, it's rough. So we have all these trainees. One of them's my son, and I see him messing up. I'm like, I let him go for a while, and I mean, I stop him before it gets dangerous or before he energizes something. Like, you might want to recheck that before you do it. I mean, I don't want to blow anything up. I don't want to cause any damage to anything. But I mean, I've blown stuff up myself. I mean, not pay attention. Get in a hurry and pull a board out, and you take every wire off, and you didn't pay attention where they came from, and all of a sudden there's no wiring diagram. You're like, oh shit, what do I do now? So I try to tell the new guys, hey, if you're taking something apart, take a picture of the wiring at least. Go wire for wire first. If you can't do that, take a picture so you at least have something to look back at. So you can try to make sure
you do that.
Oh yeah, I do too. You look at my phone; it's pictures of like parts. It's just the wires. I carry a label sheet like electrical. You can get like electrical supply houses or electrical outlet Lowe's. It's got numbers, and I will actually sometimes make a diagram. I always do that on like the Alto-Sham elements. There's 6 or 8 wires on there, and I put numbers on there, and I just take a Sharpie and I write on the wall of the oven on the in the control compartment beside my little diagram, and that's how I do them. So. So, I don't know where else this industry can go. I mean, it's all going to. I mean, the talk right now is robots. There's several companies doing it. Atosa, they're going to be at NAFM with their robots. So they've got a robot that cooks now. Everybody there's a company called Miso. They're actually partnering up with Inspire Brands. So that's like your Buffalo Wild Wings, your Arby's. There's actually some robots out there. It's Buffalo Wild Wings right now that's cooking food. It drops it and everything else. The biggest problem is they're finding is they're trying to get the robots are standalone right now. So the timer's built into the robot, not the fryer. And you know what happens when you dump, 10 pounds of wings into a fryer that doesn't know you're dumping food in there, it's going to freak out. So, when you press those buttons to start a cook cycle on a Pitco or a Frymaster, it brings the heat on to compensate for that load. So now they're trying to figure out how they can compensate for the load because, the timer's built into the robot, it's not built into the fryer. So that's where they're at with a lot of that stuff right now. But, I mean, who's going to fix the robot? Are they going to train us to fix the robots? Or are they going to train a robot guy to fix the robots? I mean, that's the big conversation right now I see going on.
McDonald's had those back in, I want to say the early 90s.
Yeah.
It was still commercial parts on 21st Street. So they had one at Shadeland and 16th. It was made by Ram.
Yeah.
So I used to go over there all the time and do some learning. But man, they had linkages going all over the place. There was wires. It was nuts.
Yeah, I always heard stories about it. I've never seen them. With the miso and the Atosa thing, I'm looking forward to seeing that Atosa one. I was surprised. I was looking at the floor plan for NAFM. It looks like Atosa has like the most floor space out of anybody there. So we'll see what happens.
I used to work on drive-through windows.
Yep, I remember those days. The
Ready
sensors.
access.
Yep.
Ready access.
Yeah. They had the sensors, or you pushed it, or
Yep.
I've seen all different kinds.
Had boards on them,
the,
sensors.
We used to do the hand dryers.
Yeah, world hand dryers.
So you go in the bathroom, it has the hot air hand dryer. We used to have to work on those.
Yeah.
What's in that? Just a blower and heating element?
Heating element.
And
Timer.
sensor.
The blower,
Cam timer.
No.
Yeah, it was nothing to it. Hit the button, it starts the timer, and that's it. Turns on the heat, blower, time's out, and it's off.
Oh.
Now they're all optical eyes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen inside one in probably 12, 13 years.
No. I know a lot of them are like we actually have a customer that has the wash, the hand, and the soap and the hand dryer on the actual sink. It's like just three nozzles right there.
It goes.
Well, the nursing home over there by the shop, they have that one sink.
Hoosier? No, not Hoosier.
No,
I know which one you're talking about, though.
yeah, they got the three rationales, the two kitchens.
Yeah.
But they have one of those sinks. It's like it like dispenses the water, dispenses the soap, and then the water shuts off, and you have to wash your hands. It has a timer, and then the water comes back on for you to rinse your hands.
Oh my gosh! Make sure you scrub. You got to sing our
Yeah.
ABCs twice.
It's hilarious. Marquette Manor.
Marquette, there you go.
Yeah. The first time I seen this thing, I was like, why did the water shut off? They're like, oh, you gotta wait. They're like, if you don't want to wait, go to this sink over here. So I go to the other sink. I'm like, I'm not waiting. I'm not performing surgery. I don't need this. I'm just trying to get this grease off my hands.
Yeah.
So you said that parts, where you're waiting a week or more. It seems like we're that way right now. I mean, just because of availability on stuff, but
Yeah.
hopefully that clears up soon. But I mean,
That was the other thing, too. The customers were a lot different. I mean, it ain't nothing like now. I need it now. I need it today. It's like, that's not happening. I mean,
It's like now, if you tell a customer 4 days, they're like, "Wait, what do you mean 4 days?"
Oh, yeah.
It's like, gosh.
Back then, or if you would go to a school out in the country and it's like, oh, we're just glad to see you.
Mm-hmm.
You get there now, it's like, man, you're supposed to be here 2 days ago.
Oh. And then I've noticed that just from because all I know is just the rush, fix it tomorrow, fix it 2 days. But I would imagine that hasn't always been the case. So that's the consensus now is why isn't it fixed yesterday?
Oh yeah.
well, we've just become a society of instant gratification. I mean, anything you want is in the palm of your hands, your phone. mean, look at Amazon, dude. I can order something and have it to my house before I wake up in the morning. I mean, it's crazy what the world's become, and it's just transpired into every aspect of life now. I mean, I always tell people, they're like, well, don't you have a part in your truck? I'm like, look, I could drive a damn semi and not have every part I need to fix everything I work on. I'm sorry.
Yep. You would
That was
just need
another
way.
big thing. That was another big thing about back then. I mean, you only had 3 or 4 parts.
Mhm.
So you would have something go out, and it's like, well, wait a minute, I got one of them on my truck. No, it's not a Market Forge, it ain't a Frymaster, but it's the same thing. A contactor is a contactor.
Yeah.
As long as it's
Yep.
3-pole, 208-volt coil, I got it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the thing I was alluding to earlier. You know, one thermostat fixed 4 or 5 different
Oh, yeah.
ovens, you know.
Easy.
That contactor, 208, 240-volt coil, you know, as long as the amperage is right, you could use that on every oven out there. That same contactor would work on a dish machine. It'd work on, you know, anything as long as it's the same voltage and amperage rating. So, I
Well,
mean,
as
but
long
now
as the
everything,
amperage was higher, it wouldn't even matter on the amperage, as long as it
Yeah.
wasn't lower.
yeah. But now
You're
everything's so specific. It's crazy. I mean, everyone was so scared that you can't use an aftermarket contactor because you're going to void the warranty, or you're going to, you know, it's not UL rated anymore. And if something happens, it's your liability versus, you know, the manufacturer's liability.
Yeah, switches. I mean, you could bypass switches. You could bypass. I mean, you could just hook up wires. You could butt connect them. I mean, you could get them. You could get the customer going a lot easier back then. It didn't take much. I don't know how many McDonald's fryers I worked on those Frymasters, where the wires come out the back.
Yeah.
Back before they started doing the way they're doing them now. I mean, you would just have
Grease.
6 wires coming down, and it's like, butt connect this one, butt connect that one, butt connect that one, because they always broke in the back, so they were full of grease.
Uh-oh. Phone's ringing.
Service call.
No, Greg's not on call. He hasn't been on call for like a year.
Right at. I was supposed to be gone.
He got out of that part, so now I'm on call every other week. I can't wait till the new on call schedule comes out. It's going to be every third week now.
I told Pat, he said you ought to be coming.
Oh, he probably going to be happy about it, but I don't care.
I wasn't happy when I did it either.
That's just part of it, man. It's just a necessary evil. We offer that service, and you got to be ready to go. He got to be lucky he's not a refrigeration guy.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'm screwed. I mean, Jim doesn't work on half the stuff I work on. He doesn't work on combis. I mean, he doesn't work on a lot of stuff. So a call comes in on that stuff, and he don't have to run it. But when I'm on call, it's like they're not turning anything away. Pat, go do it. Pat, go do it. You know, I'm like, man, this sucks. I'm like, and I mean, I get it. I work on a lot of stuff other people don't, but it's irritating.
That's another thing we had when we were on call back then. You had a cold guy and a hot guy every week.
Mm-hmm.
You was totally covered.
I imagine we'll get back to it eventually. We'll have a primary, secondary, and then maybe a hot or a cold guy, depending on who's on call, and see. I can see us getting back to that because a lot of our branches still do it that way. But some, I mean, we just got down to where we didn't have enough guys and we couldn't do it. I mean, it happened. So I don't mind being on call and stuff. We don't get a whole ton. I mean, most of our stuff comes from the office. You know, a customer calls in and, hey, we can't get there for 2 weeks unless you authorize overtime. And all of a sudden, hey, you got an overtime call. I'm like, this is not fair, man.
Yeah, that was another big thing about when I first started. I was making $560 or so at the nursing home. That was decent money back then. And then I went to work at Commercial Parts for $650 an hour. Man, I was living
big
large.
money.
Oh, I was
Big
living large.
money.
I get a
What is
12-pack instead of a 6-pack.
I wonder what that is compared to now. What would that be equivalent to?
Oh, I think my first year I made $12,000 or $13,000 that year.
That's big cash.
That was good money back then.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But it took a
That'd be
long
nice.
time, not a long time, but it took quite a bit of time to get up to where I'm paid pretty good.
Mhm.
I'm overpaid now, so
Some days I feel like I am. Some days I feel like I'm not. It just depends on my mood and what I'm fixing.
Oh.
If I'm following up people all day long, I don't make enough money. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Greg, and talking about what's changed
Yeah.
over the last 38 years. I look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the next year or so, or 6 months, how much ever longer you got here.
Yeah.
I hope we can get some things figured out and worked out for you, and make transition a little smoother and see what goes on.
Yeah.
I think
I've
we
told
get some of
everybody,
these.
so I'm just waiting.
Yeah, I think once we get some of these other guys trained and get some other things, me, you, and managers need to sit down and talk though, and get some things figured out. Make it a little easier on everybody. See if that happens. But I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on. I'd say plug your social media, but you're not a social media guy, so
Come on, Greg. Get
Yeah,
an Instagram.
I watched several of these episodes.
yeah. I see you come in late on the in the feed and the comments and stuff. So
Yeah.
you got anything to add, Dusty?
No, I mean, I appreciate your sharing your experience and, obviously the wealth of knowledge. Even when we're doing the regular podcast, I think you still chime in with stuff that, little lessons here and there. So
Once we figured out how to create an account so they can communicate.
Yeah,
I would say
nuts. That was nuts.
I would say go along the lines of if you can, like a tech support or like a training position. I mean, like a guy with your knowledge and experience. I mean, because I know a lot of guys, not personally, but especially young guys, they get so frustrated and they don't want to do it because it's complicated, and it's just a matter of under training. So I mean, I think that's shaping the future is people, helping new guys out.
As an industry, we have to do a better job training. So
for sure.
All right, guys,
All right.
I'm gonna shut this down.
Yep.
All right,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Appreciate it.